Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. We are back again for another episode of Snowfall, Season 5, Episode 6, titled The Iliad, Part 2. So, as the episode opens, we pick up exactly where we left off with Franklin and Gustavo in that tiger cage. So, as a YouTuber who watches YouTube, I done roamed these YouTube streets and found out that this is actually based on something that happened. Snowfall, y'all don't have to give us everything. You could have kept this one. The rest of it, Lynn bias, everything else being historically accurate, great. Tiger, not so much. Anyway, Franklin, he's starting to lose it a little bit. All of the houses in LA, and we had to break into one with a lunatic with a tiger in his backyard. So he starts to rattle in the cage and he's trying to get out, and Gustavo's trying to tell him, listen, calm down and save your strength. So Louis pages him again and Franklin starts to scream for help. Help, we're stuck in here with a tiger. So as the owner comes out, Franklin, he tries to reason with them. He says that they weren't there to rob him, that they got stranded and they wanted to use his phone. So the guy tells the tiger, I got a treat for you. And Franklin tells him, listen, I got lots of money. I could go get it. So the owner, he tries to open the divide between the tiger and Franklin and Gustavo. But before he came out, we saw Gustavo doing something and I wasn't quite sure. He took his belt off and he tied his belt around the cage. So as he's trying to open this divide, he can't because the belt is keeping it secure. So the owner basically says, oh, so you think I'm stupid enough to come in there so you guys can rush me? So he gets his little ladder, y'all. He climbs on top of that cage and he starts to lift the divide. Franklin, he's panicking. But also he jumps up, he kicks the cage, and then the owner's leg slips into the cage, hanging down on the side by the tiger. So Tony the tiger, he has a snack, and the owner drops his keys. So Oso's like, listen, I'ma lift the gate. You go under and get the keys. And Franklin's like, why can't you go in to get the keys? He's like, because I can't fit. Too many gorditas. It's good for me today. So also he lifts the gate and Franklin shimmies in there quick, gets the keys, comes out. And, you know, Tony's having him a little snack, so he's not bothered by Franklin. They are finally free, y'all. So as they're walking through the streets, Franklin suggests that they jack a car. Then they get maybe a block or two away and they hear a car roll up. They jump out to jack the car and Franklin is holding his gun that has no bullets in it. And it's the same guys that were looking for them earlier. I was like, BS, we finally get away from the stupid tiger. And these dudes just happen to walk into the guys that was looking for them earlier. Come on, Snowfall, do better. So the dudes, they have guns and they make Franklin drop his. They ask him where the money is and Franklin says they got jacked, but they don't believe him. So they throw him in the car and they take them to a beauty parlor. They have them tied up or taped up in these chairs. And Franklin, he's sticking to his story that they got jacked. But, you know, the dude swings on them both. He's got hits for Gustavo. He's got hits for Franklin. So he looks like he was tired from whooping their behind when the food comes in. And Franklin's like, y'all got me something? He gets popped again, of course. So also he sees a map on the wall and he tries to relate with the guy like, hey, we're practically family. But dude says, try again. It belongs to one of the ladies in the shop. So he's like, when I get back, y'all better start talking. So when the guy leaves out, Franklin and also they're trying to figure out what it is they want to do. Also says to tell them. Franklin says, if we tell them, we're going to be dead. He's like, I got an ultrasound tomorrow. Like, I got to get out of here. So Franklin's got the ultrasound tomorrow. They're trying to make plans to figure out what to do when the guy comes back in. And Franklin tells him, listen, I'll tell you, but you got to agree to let us go. So he says, it's where you found us in the house, but he doesn't know the number. So he's got to go and show them. Dude says, okay, but also stays behind for insurance. So back at Louis' club, Leon and his boy have found Thelma and Louise. Peaches still missing. They say they didn't have anything to do with it. Thelma is about that life and she is all in Leon's boy's face as he has the strap pointed directly at her. Cissy tells them, listen, y'all need to cut the BS and focus on finding my son. Leon and Unc, they're headed to Bell Gardens to see what they can find. Cissy tells V that was a bold move you pulled back there with the waterworks at the crime scene. V laughs and tells her that her mom was a con woman. I was in pure shock, y'all. How are you volunteering this information to Franklin's mother? Girl, where they do that at? So she says she used to take her around the country, the world, working jobs. Sometimes she'd even get to participate. She got to travel a lot. They hid out in Paris for a few years. She's falsified documents in English and French. Did ma'am just say that she falsified documents? Yikes. So Cissy laughs and says she thought she was just a normal lawyer, and V says she is now. Sissy girl, I'm gonna need your mom spidey senses to go off, please and thank you. What is it that you're laughing at? Sis is about to take Franklin for all his money. So Sissy's asking her where her mom is, and V says she doesn't know where she is now, and Cissy wants to know how such a thing can happen. V says that her mom took her to a fair when her dad died. They didn't even go any rides. She just taught her how to scam the carnies. It was the first time they had fun since the funeral. They never wanted that feeling to leave, so they didn't. It started off fun, but then not so much. She says maybe she was just trying to outrun her past, but now here she is back at the beginning, and she's telling Cissy how her hand is shaking. So now I'm thinking to myself, Franklin has never verified any of these phone calls that she's taken. We always see her on the phone. We always assume there's somebody on the other end, but who is she talking to? Is there really somebody on the other end talking about the properties, or is it her mom? We don't know. And Sissy girl, what did you do with that pen? We need to know that too. Anyway, so moving right along, Franklin, he takes a few of the guys to the house where they escaped the tiger, and one of them, he's looking a little suspicious as he sees the dead owner on the top of the cage. And just then, Tony the tiger, he hops out and takes one of the guys down. Franklin, he hits the main guy and takes his gun. He leaves them with the tiger and he heads for the car. Now, I was thinking to myself, this was smart, but this was also dangerous, because how did Franklin know that the tiger wouldn't attack him? So he tells a little punk from earlier to get out the car. Louie comes in and she tells him that she just got off the phone with Jerome and Franklin is still alive. He's stranded in East LA and Jerome is on his way to get him. So Thelma and Louise are like, okay, so can we go then? Because our sitter is about to leave. Louie's like, listen, call the sitter and extend your time. Then call up your people and see what the streets say about who did the hits. So she asks Cissy and V if they need anything, because she's going to go make a couple of phone calls herself. So V thanks her, and then after she leaves, Cissy takes the time to tell V that she loves her son despite his faults. She says she will do anything to protect him, even if it means telling him things that he does not want to hear. Your baby almost lost his life. Whether it was the gangsters or the government to blame, it will happen again. Now, if she didn't suspect that the girl was pregnant, I might understand. But at this point, Sissy's grief has got her moving funny and making some weird decisions. And I didn't really understand it. So Unky shows up to get Franklin. He asks if he's all right. He says no. I heard y'all got hit too. And then Leon tells him they took out one of Avi's guys. Franklin wants to know if they found peaches. It's crickets. So Franklin, he opens the trunk where the little punk is tied up and he throws the keys in. And he tells him to figure his way out before he closes the trunk. And I think that was a big mistake. It's the game. He should have taken dude out. And I feel like this is going to come back to haunt him. So the guys, they're still waiting for their crew to get back with Franklin. And they ask also how much money it was in the bag. He tells them $3 million. So the dude feels like they're being played and says, you're going to take us to get that money. Just then a car pulls up and the door opens and it's Unc, Leon, and Franklin. Also last, he was happy to see them, y'all. So Franklin says he's sorry he took so long. He had to have a conversation with a tiger. So he unties Oso and he thanks them. And Franklin says, I still have your autograph. So Unc asks what you guys want to do with these essays. And also he just wants to get home. So they leave them there and Franklin says they got lucky. Another mistake. So Franklin is in the car. He's talking to Oso. He's like 3 coordinated hits and he didn't see any of them coming. And Oso says people hide who they are, but sooner or later they show it. He didn't think that Franklin was coming back. He doesn't trust people. Franklin says he doesn't blame him. He didn't trust him either. after he and Teddy spied on him. What? Oso asked. Oso had no idea, y'all. Franklin says that the first drop when Teddy came back. He said he had a feeling, so he went back to the spot and found evidence in the building that he was watching and listening. And this is definitely going to bring the two of them closer together and also to Franklin's side when it comes to Teddy. So Leon and Unc, they come out and they have the money, and child, I just knew that money was going to be gone, but okay, lucky for them. So Franklin says he's never coming back to this place again. And as they're rolling out, they see the tiger just walking across the street. So they're back at Louie's bar, and V, she's cleaning up Franklin, and Cissy tells also that he's gonna need some stitches when Louie comes in with his lady, and she hugs him and then she punches him and he's laughing. She's like, asshole, I thought you were dead. And Sis says she was worried that he was about to leave her with them little raggedy kids. Franklin tells him to go home and get some rest. They dap it up and also tells him good luck. Franklin says, let me know when you hear from Teddy, and also he thanks Cissy on his way out. So Franklin asks about Peaches again. Leon says they got somebody outside of his crib in case he decides to show back up. Thelma and Louise say put them on the street. They're doing no good just sitting around. They can find Peaches. It ain't Peaches, Unc says. So Franklin says he'll be back. Whoever did this won't be back tonight. So V's like, okay, I'm out too. He tells her he'll get Dee to drive her home, but she says she'll manage. She wanted some quiet, and she said Dee be singing over the radio in the car, but that raised an eyebrow for me. So he tells her to page him when she gets home. So Unc asks, what you thinking? He's like, if it was Peaches, there's only one way to know for sure. Let's roll. Now I am hoping in my heart of hearts that somehow Cissy had found a way to pull Franklin to the side and tell him what V told her. Because like I said, Mama is moving so sloppy. So Parissa, she is finally cleaning up the blood off her kitchen floor, and she's listening to her Walkman. And Teddy starts to have PSD in his sleep, and he's so loud that she stops. She takes her Walkman off. She goes in the room, and she's trying to tell him to calm down, but he is deep in the throes of this nightmare. So she's like, I'm going to give you a sedative, and she does. Teddy is a mess, y'all. I thought he's supposed to have all this war experience and whatnot. Meanwhile, both him and Gustavo got shot. You don't hear Gustavo carrying on like that. And let me wrap these two up, because honestly, they could have left them out this whole episode. We didn't need to hear nothing about Teddy, and we would have been okay. So as Parissa cleans him up, Teddy tells her he needs to use her phone so he can call his people and see what the fallout was. She wants answers, and he tells her he was meeting with an asset and that he was attacked, but that they weren't after him. So she tells him about a story she read last year around the time he disappeared about a CIA officer smuggling cocaine in the country to fund the Contras. He asks her what she's won. She says $500,000. He says it's $250K. She said that was before she found the 300 kilos in the back of his car. Other than money, what is it that you want? So she climbs on top of him and she gives him a kiss, and she says she's wanted to do that ever since Tehran, but he was in love and married. And the last 2 days have been the most fun that she's had in years. And maybe that's what she wants. And then she's like, I'm going to go with the phone now. Child, like I said, they could have left all of this out. We didn't need to hear from Teddy. We didn't need to hear from Parissa, but moving right along. So Franklin, he takes Unc, Louie, and Leon to that stash spot that we saw a couple episodes back with him and Peaches, where all the money was. The shelves bare. Not a drop, not a dime, not a dollar. So Franklin, his face looks shocked, and he tells them only 2 people knew about the place, and he's one of them. So Unc is in disbelief with all the people involved. Cissy almost got shot, and Louie and whatnot. And Franklin says it was almost $5 million, and Leon says, where's he taking cover? He got a girl, a family. Unc says they ain't been tight like that in years. And why does no one know anything about Peaches? Why? It's just bizarre. So Franklin says he doesn't know either. Louie says this wasn't an impulsive move, and if he did this, he is long gone. He didn't stick around. So Leon says he didn't do this alone either. So if we find out who Peaches used to come at them, maybe it could lead them to Peaches. Franklin says until they know for sure, they have to be careful. He says he's tired. He's going home. Now, when they first got there and the money was missing, I said, I know you lying. And then I thought about it, and I never really trusted Peaches in the first place. But for some reason, that was still my reaction. Just the same, Do you guys think that Peaches did it? Please put your thoughts down in the comments. I'm conflicted. But anyway, Franklin, he gets home and he calls out for V and there's no answer. And then he walks around and he looks kind of weird, and I wondered if something might have been missing. And he finds a letter and he reads it. We don't see what the letter is, but we hear fuck. So, you know, Franklin, he just got no luck with the women's. So next we hear Avi say, so she just left you and she's pregnant 10 weeks. He says that he has to keep them safe. So Avi says that he's going to get them additional security. Franklin thanks him, and Avi tells him his friend Azim was gunned down in front of him yesterday. Died right at his feet. And here you are bringing life into the world. Avi says he never married or had a child because he's a soldier. Going from one battlefield to another, that's what he does. That's who he is. But Franklin, he's different. When he met him, he said he can do anything that he wants, and that's the biggest curse a man can have. You could do anything, be anything. Teacher, businessman, a rabbi, drug dealer, it's all in you, and it all wants to come out. Avi says he's gone from war to war, but Franklin has the war inside. And you know, Avi doesn't miss the opportunity to drop a gem on the young folks. So Louie and Unc are sitting in the car, and Unc is disgusted. All that he's done for Peaches, he was a broke down vet before I put him on. Louie says you may have brought him in, but that was Franklin's guy. If anyone should have seen this coming, it's him. So some guys roll up and they get out the car, and the guy's like, I heard y'all had a bad day. What else you heard? Unc says. Louie asks, do you know who did it? And she tells him to keep his ear to the ground. It was a big hit, a lot of people involved, so somebody's going to be talking. And dude asks, what about the drop? Unc asks, you heard what she said, right? Dude says, yeah, I said all right, but Trey wanted to know about the drop. You get the drop when I say you get the fucking drop, Unc says. Dude says something about being more respectful and maybe folks won't be trying to light them up. Baby, why did he say that? Unc took all his aggression out. I mean, he decked him in the face. Louie, she pulled out the strap on his own homie and told him to back the F up. And Unc just proceeded to beat the brakes straight off this dude. I thought he was going to beat the guy to death. Like I said, took all his aggressions from Buckley and everything else out all over dude's face. So he stops because he either hurt his hand, he hurt his wrist, he hurt something. That's how dude basically got spared his life. So Louie's like, go ahead and pick your boy up. So dude does, and Unc and Louie, they get in a car, and just as they're about to pull off, Unc says, teach a man how to squabble. You get that trigger next time. I definitely cackled a little bit. So V is at the doctor's for a sonogram, and the nurse tells her they're just exploring. So lay down any expectations that you came in with. Could be twins, could be no heartbeat. So Franklin comes in right before they get started, and they show a sono of one baby, and we hear a heartbeat. Nurse says congratulations, and V asks her for a minute. So the nurse steps out. V says she doesn't blame him for what happened. She knew what it was, but she let herself believe that it could never touch her. He tells her that he met with Avi and they will have security starting tomorrow. V asks if he found out who came after them. He says no, but he will, and it will be taken care of. Maybe this time, but what about next time? What about when the CIA decides that they're done with you? And he wants to know where this is coming from. Cissy got in her head, it's coming from your mama, Franklin. That's where it's coming from. V basically says that he can't keep her safe. So she has to keep some distance from him until he's free of all this. And she says she'll see him at work, but nothing else. So now we all saw the sono and we heard the heartbeat. So now is it Franklin's baby, or is she not pregnant at all? And y'all going with the nurse was in on the whole thing? Let me know your thoughts down below. So back at Louie's club, Thelma and Louise tell them that they might have a bigger problem than Peaches. An OG named Kane just got out the pen. Kane, Unc says. Leon says he didn't know he was out. Neither did Franklin, but he says the time adds up. So Franklin and Leon, they go pay this Kane dude a visit. He's on a kid's football field. Franklin asks him when he got out. He says a few months ago. So they making small talk, and they're talking about growing up and dude basically shooting at them. And Kane says technically he ain't shoot at nobody. Franklin asked if Peaches came to him or did he get at Peaches, and dude deviates and said that he taught them how to act like men. So other than the money being missing, we don't have any confirmation that it was Peaches. But I guess it didn't keep, Kane says. Franklin says, oh no, it did. And that's why we're here having a conversation instead of wiping you and your folks out. And then they start to verify who exactly Kane is in case we didn't know. So he said when he heard his cousin Delroy got stabbed while he was slinging for Franklin, he was in solitary. They wouldn't even let him out for the funeral. And I didn't remember Delroy had to put my ear to them streets. That reminded me that he got killed, but Franklin told him not to be in that territory in the first place. Kane says then he heard about Kev and he didn't want to go to the funeral. He would have been too angry and did something to get himself more time. Now, Kev sold the recipe and he was a hater. But Kane, he didn't know all that and he probably doesn't care. So Franklin tells him as much and says that he doesn't really know what happened when Kane said so. He basically sat patiently in jail and waited to get out. You didn't shoot and kill my baby brother, Kane asked. And then what'd you do? Franklin says he was in prison. Kane wonders who he snitched on to get out. Franklin's like, if you had a problem, you should have just came and said something. Kane laughs and he tells Leon to get his boy. And Leon's like, listen, we're just trying to make it right. Kane says, but some things can't be made right. He apologizes if things got out of hand and Miss Saint and anybody else that got caught up in it. He says, next time they'll have better people. Next time we get it right. Franklin says they could come at him anytime, any place. This is your one chance to do things different. Kane says, of course you can get at me, but does it look like I'm hiding? He laughs and he tells them to run along and he says he'll think about them when he pours one out for Kev. And then he just goes back to the game and Franklin and Leon, they walk away and that is where we end. What were your thoughts on the episode? Go ahead and drop them down below in the comments. Well, we got no more Tiger, thank goodness. And now we found out who did the shooting, I think, and where's Peaches? And now do you guys think that V could be linked to Kane? Heck, is it Kane's baby while we're throwing out just wild random theories? Anywho, I hope you'll come back and join me for my review of episode 7. And if you have made it this far, put a football emoji down in the comments for the end of this episode. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you, thank you. And before you go, like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate y'all. Peace.